The Brady Bunch was once a dazzling portrait of the ideal American family, lighting up the childhoods of millions with laughter and love. But behind its golden glow were horrifying secrets, sudden deaths, shocking accidents, and heartbreaking tragedies that claimed the lives of several of its stars. Today, we uncover the shocking fates behind this beloved show and honor the legacies they left behind. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get started. Robert Reed as Mike Brady. Robert Reed, born John Robert Reitz Jr. on October 19, 1932 in Highland Park, Illinois, was 37 years old when he stepped into the role of Mike Brady, the picture-perfect father of a blended family with 6 children, in The Brady Bunch, 1969 to 1974. Alongside Florence Henderson as Carol Brady, Reed became a household icon, representing the ultimate dad for millions of American families. But behind that warm smile was a life filled with pain and inner turmoil. From the very beginning, Reed felt suffocated by the role. A classically trained actor who once played Romeo in Romeo and Juliet and had a deep love for Shakespeare, he considered the Brady Bunch too simplistic, calling many of the scripts silly and cheap. He frequently clashed with producer Sherwood Schwartz, once even refusing to appear in the final episode of Season 5 because Greg's hair had been dyed orange, something Reed found absurdly illogical. Yet the greatest burden he carried had nothing to do with work. It was personal. In 1954, Reed married Marilyn Rosenberger, and they had a daughter, Karen Reitz. But the marriage ended after 5 years, and he never remarried. Reed was gay, but lived in an era when being open about one's sexuality could destroy a career. Instead of living freely, he chose secrecy, even from close friends. Florence Henderson, his closest co-star, once said, "I don't think Bob was ever truly happy because he had to live a double life." Though outwardly composed and professional, those who knew him best sensed the emptiness he endured in silence. His relationship with his mother had deteriorated so deeply that neither she nor his daughter attended his memorial. Reed poured himself into his work, earning 3 Emmy nominations for more serious roles in Roots and Medical Center, but the mental toll gradually wore down his health. In 1991, Reed was diagnosed with HIV. Months later, he also received a diagnosis of colon cancer. He kept both conditions secret, allowing only his daughter and close friend Anne Haney to visit him. He never wanted pity, only dignity. Robert Reed died on May 12, 1992, in Pasadena, California, when he was 59 years old. His death certificate later revealed his HIV status, a truth he took to his grave. He was quietly buried at Memorial Park Cemetery in Skokie, Illinois. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at $3 million, not extravagant, but a testament to a life of tireless work and silent sacrifice. Ann B. Davis as Alice Nelson. Ann Bradford Davis was born on May 3, 1926, in Schenectady, New York. When she was 43 years old, her life changed forever after being cast as Alice Nelson, the quick-witted, warm-hearted housekeeper of the Brady Bunch, 1969 to 1974. For 5 seasons, Alice wasn't just a helping hand. She was the emotional anchor of the entire family, and a comforting presence to generations of viewers. Before the Brady Bunch, Davis had already made a name for herself as Charmaine Schultze Schultz in The Bob Cummings Show, 1955 to 1959, a role that earned her 2 Primetime Emmy Awards. Schultze, with her sharp humor and independence, became a trailblazing character, a woman who didn't need a man to shine. But the biggest surprise about Ann Davis came after the spotlight faded. In 1976, at the height of her fame, she left Hollywood, sold her home in Los Angeles, and moved to a religious community in Denver, Colorado, led by Episcopal Bishop William Frey. To outsiders, the decision seemed baffling. To Davis, it was liberation. She never married or had children and instead chose a life of spiritual devotion, serving the church, avoiding celebrity, and living in peaceful reflection. "I had everything I ever wanted: fame, a career. Now I want peace," she once said. Her choice earned her the respect of fans and made her a spiritual icon of the golden age of television. Ann B. Davis died on June 1, 2014 in San Antonio, Texas, after slipping in her bathroom and suffering a fatal subdural hematoma. She was 88 years old. Her death was especially heartbreaking because she had been in excellent health, still attending services and joyfully connecting with friends until the very end. Her net worth at the time was just $400,000, an astonishingly modest amount for a two-time Emmy winner with a lasting legacy. Jackie Coogan as Harry, John Leslie. Jackie Coogan was born on October 26, 1914 in Los Angeles. When he was just 7 years old, he captured the hearts of the world in The Kid, 1921, Charlie Chaplin's silent film masterpiece. With expressive eyes and emotional depth far beyond his age, Coogan became the first true child star. But that childhood stardom soon gave way to a bitter reality. Jackie Coogan became the first widely known victim of financial abuse in Hollywood. In 1935, after his father died in a tragic car accident, 21-year-old Coogan discovered that nearly all the millions he had earned as a child had been spent by his mother and stepfather on jewelry, cars, and luxury living. They coldly declared, "No one ever promised Jackie anything." Furious, he sued them and won only $126,000, barely 5% of his total childhood earnings. The case led to the creation of the historic Coogan Law in California, requiring producers to protect a portion of child actors' income in trust. After that traumatic loss, Coogan struggled to rebuild his career. His adult film roles were minor at best. He married 4 times, the first 3 ending in divorce, including a whirlwind marriage to starlet Betty Grable. He even declared bankruptcy and once borrowed money from Chaplin, his childhood mentor. But fate had one more twist in store. In the 1960s, Coogan staged a comeback as Uncle Fester in The Addams Family, 1964 to 1966. With his bald head and manic energy, he won over a whole new generation. He continued working in shows like Perry Mason, I Dream of Jeannie, and even appeared in The Brady Bunch in 2 memorable episodes. By then, already 55 years old and battling hypertension and the effects of multiple strokes. In his later years, Coogan lived quietly with his 4th wife, Dodie Hanson, who stood by him for over 30 years. But his health steadily declined. After years of kidney treatments and heart problems, he died on March 1, 1984, in Santa Monica from heart failure. He was 69 years old. He was buried at Holy Cross Cemetery in Culver City, California. At the time of his death, his net worth was around $250,000, a heartbreaking figure for someone who once earned millions, only to have it stolen. Florence Henderson as Carol Brady. Florence Agnes Henderson was born on February 14, 1934, in the small town of Dale, Indiana. When she was 35 years old, she became a timeless television icon through her role as Carol Brady, the sweet and nurturing mother in The Brady Bunch, 1969 to 1974. Her portrayal of Mom Brady won the hearts of America, but Florence once admitted that Carol was the mother she wished she could be, not the one she truly was. Off-screen, Florence was a real mother of 4 and went through 2 turbulent marriages. Her first, to Ira Bernstein, lasted nearly 30 years and produced her children, but ended in divorce in 1985. In her memoir, she hinted, "I wasn't good at balancing career and family." Just 2 years later, she married hypnotherapist Dr. John Kappas, who had helped her overcome stage fright and depression. They remained together until his death in 2002. Despite her radiant TV persona, She once confessed, "Carol Brady wasn't me. She was who I wanted to be." Her professional life wasn't without its shadows either. Rumors once swirled about an alleged romance with co-star Barry Williams, who played her on-screen son Greg Brady, even though he was more than 20 years her junior. Florence denied it, calling it an overblown dinner between friends. But the pressure to preserve her wholesome image was constant. When she learned of Robert Reed's HIV diagnosis, she kept his secret for life, protecting his dignity until the end. In her later years, Florence stayed active, hosting talk shows, writing a memoir, competing on Dancing with the Stars, and making joyful appearances with her Brady Bunch kids. Always glowing in front of the camera, her sudden death on November 24, 2016, from heart failure at age 82, stunned the nation. Just 3 days earlier, she had appeared at a taping of Dancing with the Stars to cheer on Maureen McCormick. At the time of her passing, her net worth was estimated at $10 million. Not the richest in Hollywood, but wealthy in love and respect from generations of fans. Alan Melvin as Sam Franklin. Alan John Melvin was born on February 18, 1923, in Kansas City, Missouri. When he was 46 years old, he began portraying Sam Franklin, the lovable butcher and Alice's boyfriend in The Brady Bunch, 1969 to 1974. With his warm heart, subtle charm, and sincere demeanor, Sam the Butcher became an unforgettable part of the Brady family story. But Alan Melvin's path to television fame didn't begin with The Brady Bunch. Long before that, he had already carved out a solid reputation in American households as Sergeant Henshaw on The Phil Silvers Show, 1955 to 1959, a role that showcased his natural timing and comic sensibility. Before his rise in Hollywood, Melvin served his country in the U.S. Navy during World War II, and after returning home, launched his entertainment career by winning the nationally broadcast Arthur Godfrey's Talent Scouts competition. From that point forward, his gravelly voice and unmistakable New York charm made him a fixture in sitcoms for decades. Across more than 40 years in the industry, Melvin was known not only for his versatility on screen, but also for his grounded life off it. He married Amalia Faustina Sestero in 1944, and the two remained inseparable until the end of his life. Together, they raised 2 children and maintained a quiet, stable life far from the glare of Hollywood. In his later years, as on-camera roles became less frequent, Melvin transitioned into voice acting, bringing characters like Magilla Gorilla to life for a new generation of viewers. His final credited role was in Scooby-Doo in Arabian Nights, 1994, where he once again lent his voice to the animated world. Alan Melvin passed away on January 17, 2008, after a battle with cancer, just a month shy of his 85th birthday. He died in Brentwood, Los Angeles, and was laid to rest at Westwood Memorial Park, a quiet resting place for many Hollywood greats. Though his estimated net worth at the time of his death was around $1 million, a modest figure by celebrity standards, it reflected a man who lived simply, gave generously, and left behind a legacy not measured in money, but in laughter, love, and the hearts of those who grew up watching him. Jim Backus as Zachariah T. Brown and Harry Matthews. James Gilmore Backus was born on February 25, 1913, in Cleveland, Ohio. When he was 56 years old, he made a memorable guest appearance on The Brady Bunch in 1970, playing Zachariah T. Brown, a quirky gold-hunting prospector who appeared in just a single episode. Yet with his razor-sharp comedic instincts and that unmistakable voice, he managed to leave a lasting impression, even in such a brief role. Backus was already a well-known name by then, instantly recognizable for his polished, upper-crust New England accent and his knack for portraying eccentric, often outrageously wealthy characters. He brought charm and chaos to the sitcom I Married Joan, and later headlined his own series, The Jim Backus Show. But his most iconic role, The one that etched him forever into the fabric of American pop culture was Thurston Howell III, the spoiled millionaire marooned on a desert island in Gilligan's Island. With a martini in hand and pearls of clueless wisdom, Backus turned Thurston into an emblem of comedic class caricature. Outside the world of acting, Jim Backus was also a gifted writer known for his wit and self-deprecating humor. Along with his second wife, Henny Backus, he co-wrote several light-hearted and amusing books, including the tongue-in-cheek Only When I Laugh. The couple's literary partnership was just one facet of their deeply bonded and creative marriage. Backus also gave life, quite literally, to one of animation's most enduring characters, Mr. Magoo. His distinct voice, tinged with befuddled arrogance and comedic warmth, brought the nearsighted curmudgeon to life in commercials, cartoons, and advertisements for everything from GE light bulbs to lazy boy recliners. For millions of viewers, his voice became as familiar and comforting as an old friend. But even legends are not immune to time. In the late 1970s, Jim Backus was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, a slow, unforgiving illness that gradually robbed him of his mobility and silenced his public appearances. As his condition worsened, he became increasingly private, spending his final years away from the spotlight he had once commanded so effortlessly. In the end, it was pneumonia that took him, when his already fragile body could no longer fight back. Jim Backus passed away on July 3, 1989, in Los Angeles, at the age of 76. Though the lights had dimmed, his influence remained, etched in laughter, in characters still quoted decades later, and in the unforgettable voice that entertained generations. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at $5 million, a modest number for a man whose real legacy is measured not in dollars, but in the joy he brought to living rooms across America. E.G. Marshall as J.P. Randolph. E.G. Marshall, born Everett Eugene Gruns on June 18, 1914, in Owatonna, Minnesota, was 55 years old when he appeared on The Brady Bunch in 1970 as J.P. Randolph, a stern and authoritative guest character that mirrored the dignified gravitas Marshall brought to nearly every role he played. But behind the poise was a man who had lived through deep emotional trials. His first marriage to Helen Wolf lasted over 20 years but ended painfully in divorce in 1953. They had 2 daughters together, though the marriage's final years were strained and distant. He later married Judith Coy and had 3 more children. Reflecting on family life in a rare interview, he said, "My career gave me a voice, but family taught me when to stay silent." Though Marshall never publicly spoke about financial struggles, close friends said he always worried that stage acting wouldn't be enough to support his 5 children. He eventually shifted toward more commercial TV and film work. In 1974, he hosted CBS Radio Mystery Theater to bring in steadier income and even played the president in Superman 2, 1980, to recover from a failed stage production investment. Despite battling lung cancer in his later years, Marshall stayed committed to social causes, spending his final years in Bedford, New York, writing and advocating for public health care programs. He died peacefully at home on August 24, 1998, at 84 years old. At the time of his passing, his net worth was estimated at $2 million, a modest sum that belied a deeply principled and enduring career. See Lindsay Workman as Dr. Howard Leeds. C. Lindsay Workman was born on March 6, 1924, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He was 45 years old when he appeared as Dr. Howard Leeds in The Brady Bunch, 1970, a small role marked by calm authority and steady presence, helping to flesh out the adult world surrounding the Brady family. His simplicity and precision in every scene made him a familiar and trusted face to audiences, even without the glow of fame. Away from the camera, Workman lived a life that mirrored the values he often portrayed. He studied at Pomona College before attending Yale University, where he balanced his love for literature with a growing passion for the dramatic arts. Yet instead of seeking fame on Broadway or chasing leading roles in Hollywood, he made a deliberate choice to become a character actor, a working actor, one who would build a career not on star power, but on reliability, range, and integrity. Over the span of 4 decades, Workman quietly amassed a body of work that included more than 100 appearances in film and television. He graced screens in shows like Here Come the Brides, Julia, Adam 12, The Young and the Restless, and Gunsmoke. Though he often played supporting roles, his face became a familiar and welcome sight for generations of TV viewers who might not have known his name, but knew his presence brought authenticity. Off-screen, Lindsay was a devoted family man. He married, raised 2 children, and lived a life rooted in service. He gave his time to causes he believed in, including the Pacific Pioneer Broadcasters and the Boy Scouts of America in Los Angeles, where he volunteered regularly. He wasn't just an actor. He was a neighbor, a father, a citizen, and a steady hand in a world that often moves too fast. C. Lindsay Workman passed away on April 24, 2012, in Claremont, California, at the age of 88, following a brief illness. At the time of his passing, his net worth was estimated at just $100,000, a humble sum by Hollywood standards. But the real wealth of his life lay elsewhere, in the quiet dignity with which he lived, the roles that added texture to American television, and the countless moments in which his performances made audiences feel something real. Barry Williams as Greg Brady. Barry Williams, born Barry William Blenkhorn on September 30, 1954, in Santa Monica, California, was 15 years old when he took on the role of Greg Brady in The Brady Bunch, 1969 to 1974. The handsome, ambitious eldest son who quickly became a teen idol of the 1970s. Greg Brady became his lifelong shadow, a character too iconic to escape. Behind that smile and idealized persona was a young man in constant conflict. When the show ended, Barry faced the classic child star curse, forever tied to one role. He fought to move beyond it through stage roles in Grease, West Side Story, and even Broadway's Romance. But the public only wanted to talk about Greg. His personal life was turbulent. One of the most persistent scandals was the rumor of a romance with Florence Henderson, who played his stepmother on the show, 20 years his senior. Though Henderson denied anything beyond a harmless dinner, the story haunted Barry for years. He also clashed with the Actors Equity Association and was fined $52,000 for touring in a non-union show, a case he fought, and eventually won, in 2005. He married twice. With his second wife, Ayla Mary Matt, he had a son, Brandon Eric, born in 2003. With former girlfriend Elizabeth Kennedy, he had a daughter, Samantha Rose, born in 2012. Both relationships ended in separation, leaving behind emotional wounds he later spoke about on Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew. By 2025, Barry is 70 years old, living in Branson, Missouri, and still performing with his band, Barry Williams and the Traveliers. His estimated net worth is $6 million, a reflection of both perseverance and an unshakable link to television history. Maureen McCormick as Marcia Brady. Maureen Denise McCormick was born on August 5, 1956, in Los Angeles, California. She was just 12 years old when she became a national star as Marcia Brady in The Brady Bunch, 1969 to 1974. The golden-haired, picture-perfect eldest daughter whose smile defined the girl-next-door ideal of the 1970s. But her life after the cameras stopped rolling was anything but perfect. After the show ended, Maureen struggled with addiction, starting with tranquilizers and spiraling into cocaine abuse. The pressure of fame and emotional emptiness sent her down a dangerous path. She once auditioned for Raiders of the Lost Ark after staying awake for 3 days on drugs, blowing what could have been the biggest opportunity of her life. She admitted to trading sex for drugs and was blacklisted by producers who labeled her unreliable. What saved her was love. In 1985, she married Michael Cummings, who stood by her through rehab, therapy, and even a suicide attempt. Their daughter, Natalie Michelle, born in 1989, became her reason to live, and the reason she turned down reprising Marcia in The Bradys. She chose motherhood over stardom. She slowly rebuilt her life through appearances on Celebrity Fit Club, Gone Country, Dancing with the Stars, and more. Her 2008 memoir, Here's the Story, pulled back the curtain on a life many thought was perfect. At 68 years old, Maureen continues working in TV, hosting shows like Frozen in Time, and serves as a global ambassador for Special Olympics. With income from books, music, and decades of television, her net worth is estimated at $4 million. But her greatest legacy is survival. Eve Plumb as Jan Brady. Eveline Plumb was born on April 29, 1958, in Burbank, California. She was 11 years old when she became famous as Jan Brady in The Brady Bunch, 1969 to 1974. The middle child with a sensitive soul and lingering insecurities. Her iconic line, "Marcia, Marcia, Marcia," became a cultural touchstone and a burden that followed her long after the show ended. Eve tried to move beyond Jan with riskier roles, like playing a teen sex worker in Dawn, Portrait of a Teenage Runaway, 1976. She also appeared in Fantasy Island, Wonder Woman, Murder, She Wrote, and The Love Boat. But the public and press kept seeing her as January. She even turned down the Brady Bunch hour to avoid being boxed in forever. Privately, Eve married Rick Mansfield in 1979, the first Brady star to wed, but they divorced within 2 years. In 1995, she quietly remarried Ken Pace, a business consultant. They have no children and live a private, low-key life. Outside acting, Eve reinvented herself as a visual artist. Her paintings have been shown in galleries nationwide. She once served on the design review board in Laguna Beach and later moved between New York and Los Angeles. In a notable real estate move, she sold the Malibu home she bought at age 11 for $3.9 million, originally purchased for just $55,000. Now 66 years old, Eve continues to create art and occasionally reunites with her former co-stars. With income from decades of acting, painting, and smart investments, her estimated net worth is $5 million. But her real triumph is how she quietly reclaimed her identity from a role that nearly defined her forever. Christopher Knight as Peter Brady. Christopher Knight, born on November 7, 1957 in New York, rose to fame at 11 years old as Peter Brady, the mischievous yet lovable middle son in The Brady Bunch, 1969 to 1974. While his co-stars like Barry Williams and Maureen McCormick often took center stage, young Christopher, with his cheeky smile and twinkling eyes, quickly captured the hearts of American TV audiences in the late 1960s. Unlike some of his co-stars who found themselves trapped under the weight of their childhood roles, Knight chose a different path. After The Brady Bunch and its spin-offs, he quietly left the spotlight and stepped into the world of technology, a bold move for the 1980s. Calling himself a tech nerd, Knight achieved real success in the computer hardware and software industry. He founded several companies, including Visual Software and Escape Labs, the latter of which was acquired by Hauppauge in 2000. These accomplishments made him one of the rare former child stars to reinvent himself in an entirely different profession. Still, Knight never fully left television behind. In the early 2000s, he made a surprising comeback through reality TV with The Surreal Life, where he stunned viewers by beginning a relationship with Adrienne Curry, winner of America's Next Top Model and nearly 25 years his junior. Their whirlwind romance, documented in My Fair Brady, led to a Gothic-style wedding in 2006. But 5 years later, the marriage ended. Adrienne publicly admitted she wasn't happy, hinting at irreconcilable differences behind the scenes. Though once celebrated as a bold and unconventional TV couple, their love story quietly dissolved off-camera. Knight married for the fourth time in 2016 to Cara Kokonis, a woman outside the entertainment industry. Since then, he's lived a more private life, though he occasionally appears in nostalgic specials like A Very Brady Renovation and The Masked Singer. While former castmates like Robert Reed and Florence Henderson have since passed, Knight, 66 years old in 2025, remains active and connected to the Brady Bunch legacy. His estimated net worth is around $10 million, a testament to a journey that may have started as the Brady Boy, but became a story of quiet resilience and reinvention. The journey of the Brady Bunch is more than just sweet memories. It's also filled with haunting mysteries and behind-the-scenes tragedies that few ever saw. Which cast member left the deepest impression on you, and which secret surprised you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments and join us as we continue uncovering the untold stories behind this legendary show.